Hey, Peter, before Heidi has to go tonight, how about we get into this World Series of Fighting card on Friday?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's start with that main event: John Fitch and Josh Berkman, or as I said on the conference call, the uncrowned welterweight champion of World Series of Fighting. So, Heidi,
That was
what do you
great.
think about? Yeah, what did you think of this fight?
Uh,
Uh, oh, good. Sorry.
I don't know what I'm going to say, so go for it.
I just think, it probably, I don't want to say it's going to go the same way that it did 6 years ago, but I think we're going to see a finish from Fitch, excuse me. But it's been 6 years since we've seen one, but, he's fought, not to, knock anybody like Josh Berkman, who's been, on a 4-fight win streak and everything, and he has 2 wins over tough guys in the World Series of Fighting, but I think Fitch is going to dominate this, and I think he's going to come back with, like, a serious vengeance, and I think we're going to see, maybe Fitch actually submit somebody.
Yeah, I like Fitch in this fight against Berkman, and I'm not the biggest John Fitch fan. I'll admit that right here, right now. But I don't think Berkman is. I don't think he's got the tools to beat Fitch. I think Fitch. This fight will be great for him to basically. It's a statement fight for him, really. If he loses, great. Another Fitch loss. That's all we need. But a Fitch win here, a dominant win over Berkman, he's right back in there, and maybe he'll get a call. Who knows? Down the road, anything can happen in the UFC. I mean, we all know that. But Berkman can't be. You can't really dismiss Berkman. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He knocked out Aaron Simpson in March in Atlantic City. And little known fact, he's actually dated, at one time he dated Ariane Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
Was that around, the Ultimate Fighter time?
What's that?
Was that right around when he was on the Ultimate Fighter?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm just going to say, as far as Fitch and Berkman is concerned, I feel like Berkman's had a career renaissance ever since his loss to Jordan Mein. I mean, Peter, you mentioned the 4-fight win streak, but I think it's even more impressive the fact that he's gone through 3 names of guys that we know, Jamie Yeager, Gerald Harris, Aaron Simpson, and come out with impressive wins in each one, getting a decision over Harris, a very tough wrestler, choking out Yeager, and that's not an easy thing to do, and knocking out Simpson, who was known almost for never ever being knocked out because he'd always wrestle guys to a decision, win or lose. So I don't want to just say that he's going to go in there and get smoked by John Fitch. I think that actually this is a completely different fight than the one 6 years ago. I think Berkman's probably better now, and Fitch is probably still as tough as he was then, but I think Berkman makes this a very competitive fight.
Yeah, it could be.
Mm-hmm. So on the underneath that, we've got 3 other fights that will air on NBC Sports. Welterweight fight, Steve Carl and Tyson Steele. Heidi, your thoughts on that one?
Well, Steele has that submission game to his credit. I think he has probably 7 wins or so by submission. He's only got 1 loss. And Carl's pretty dangerous too with his submissions. He has a ton, probably double of what Steele has, and I think he's won a lot of his fights in the first round, if I could, bringing it back through the memory process here. But, Carl, I know, is on a 5-fight win streak, and that is going to be just for that welterweight division. I mean, I think they said in the conference call that the winner of Fitch Berkman is, up to fight for a title. You have to wonder here, is Steele Carl, maybe the guy that faces that winner. The way that these two have gone at it, they're, pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. It does seem to line up that way with 2 top welterweight fights back to back, and somebody coming out of this is definitely going to be a champion, either Fitch Berkman or Carl Steele. It's lining up that way right now. So, Peter, any thoughts on that co-main event?
I'm going to go with Tyson Steele by submission, like Heidi said. It's going to be a great submission exhibition here, and I just think Steele will win this one.
Quite possibly. And we have 2 lightweight fights on NBC Sports as well. And the one that's most interesting to me, not just because they're the names, but also because I got a chance to talk to him a little bit, Jacob Dr. Feelgood Volkman and Lyle Fancy Pants Bierbaum. I know Heidi's got something to say about that.
How much do you love the nickname, though? I mean, really, he went from Christmas, which is kind of like, you look like Lloyd Christmas a little bit from Dumb and Dumber, but, I think Mr. Feelgood, is it Doctor or Mr. Feelgood?
It's Dr. Feelgood.
Okay, well, that's, pretty awesome. And Lyle Beerbaum, his story is pretty amazing. I mean, just the adversity that he's battled through in his own personal life to get to this point where he is. I mean, and the guy has only 2 losses to his name, and those were to Keeley and Shinya Aoki. So you put him against a guy like Volkman, we're going to have a fun fight. I think it's going to be, I hope, for a grappling war, because I think with Volkman's wrestling, that could be really interesting on the ground. But then he has that loss to Sass where he got submitted. So, I think whether it gets done on the feet or whether it gets done on the ground, we're going to be in for a fun fight. I can't wait to see it, actually.
And I can't wait to see Lyle Beerbaum's new pair of fancy pants.
Oh, Stevie.
I just love that he told the story that his mom buys all the fabrics and doesn't even tell him what she's doing. She just gives him the pants and says, "Here, wear these," and that's how he gets them.
Oh, one of the fights we're not going to see on this card, and it's kind of a shame, maybe it might get bonus, is the main event on the prelims, John Gunnarsson against Dan Lozon.
Yep, Dan the Upgrade is on the prelims, but I thought those were airing on Sherdog or somewhere, Heidi. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they are on Sherdog. Yeah,
okay,
they are streaming, I believe, on both MMA Junkie and also Sherdog.com.
Now, will they be region locked? Like, can a Canadian watch those, or?
I hope so, because I know that sometimes they geo-block, but, I haven't seen any kind of thing that would say it, but I don't know that they would post that it would be geo-blocked. So hopefully for you guys it is available, Otherwise, maybe I'll have to talk to these guys when I get down there, and I'll mean business.
When was the last time you were in Canada, Heidi?
I'm sorry?
When was the last time you were in Canada?
I have never been to Canada. I am trying to get to that point where we finally can, send me everywhere and I can travel. But for now, I'm mostly West Coast local. I thought about Winnipeg, but just couldn't make it, especially with the World Series, the fighting being in town and knowing that we were going to do some coverage for them. So, I got to pick and choose here. Hopefully the next one that's closer to the West Coast, side, maybe I can get to it.
Yeah, I think Heidi has the same issue I do. Is you got to cover the events local to you most of the time. It's me going to fights in Kansas City and Minneapolis and Chicago is easier than traveling to Canada for every card.
Yeah.
One last thing, Heidi, before I throw it back to Stevie. What's your thoughts on Bellator moving to Fridays?
I think it's smart. You can't go up against the NFL juggernaut. I mean, I don't even think that the UFC would be that crazy. So it's probably, for the best for them that they take a move to Friday. When you look at the lineup that Spike TV has, there was a gaping hole there. So it'll be pretty entertaining, I think, to be able to enjoy those fights when it starts in September. And, you got your football on Thursday, and then you have MMA with Bellator on Friday, and then the UFC on Saturday. So, it's always going to be, it looks like a stacked kind of fight fall.
Yeah, the only bummer for me is that Access TV has been putting on their fight cards on Friday nights, so that means in most cases Bellator and Access are probably going to go head-to-head. There could be a Titing Fighting and a Bellator MMA card on at the same time, and I'm probably going to choose Bellator if I have to pick and choose, but it just sucks that I'll have to.
Oh, I didn't think about that, because they do, RFA, MFC, oh my gosh, there's so many fights there.
Absolutely,
wow.
Yeah, XFC too, yeah, it's going to be tough going head-to-head, but it's getting to that point now where there's so much MMA on TV, you're almost not going to be able to avoid that, because we had the same situation with Ultimate Fighter and Bellator being on the same nights for a while as well, so I was always getting into tough battles trying to cover both of those.
Yeah, I have a double play on my thing, luckily, where I can watch and rewind and pause and play 2 shows at once. So I kind of love that when one goes to commercial, then I pause it and I go back to the other one, and it works out. But sometimes when you're tweeting, it gets a little hairy.
Yeah, that was the problem. That was the problem I was having, was I can't recap both at the same time, and I can't tweet both at the same time. I can watch both at the same time, but it doesn't work out so well.
Right.
So before we let you go tonight, Heidi, I want to give you a chance to get in all the plugs for MMA Fight Corner, your own Twitter, and all the stuff that you're working on besides World Series of Fighting this weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You can catch us on @Fight Corner on Twitter. And YouTube, we're also the MMA Fight Corner. There's a "the" in front of it. Somehow, I guess MMA Fight Corner was gone, but we are the MMA Fight Corner. And also the website, MMAFightCorner.com. You can go there and find all the latest news. We keep up on top of it on a day-to-day basis, so there's always something fresh, and we do a lot of exclusives, like I said, in town, and meet up different post-fight interviews with the fighters. So everything is pretty much on our YouTube or on the website. And then if you want to follow me, I'm at Heidi Fang on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'll get to see you while I'm out there for UFC 162. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. And hey, thanks for all the retweets, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. You guys always put up great videos on YouTube, so there's never a shortage of things for me to tweet out and support.
I much appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, Heidi. You have a good night, and I'll be seeing you real soon.
All right. We'll be seeing you soon, guys. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
All right, Peter, another excellent interview right here on Glove Up or Shut Up with returning guest Heidi Fang from MMA Fight Corner.
Absolutely. And Stevie, one question I wanted to ask you, and I'm still trying to get my head around this. It was announced today the California State Athletic Commission is halting TRT exemptions.
Okay, well, yeah, too bad we don't still have Heidi on. I would have liked to have her opinion on that, but
well, I don't know much about this story because it just came out today, and I was out all day. So, what can you tell me?
Well, I assume that they're probably reacting to the whole Vitor Belfort controversy because he just recently came out with a new interview saying, it's only for the purposes of bringing me back to a normal level. It doesn't change anything, which is what everybody that's on TRT says. But at the same time, people look at Vitor Belfort's physique and go, wait a minute, there's nothing normal about that, especially given the way he looked just 2 or 3 years ago. It's not the same guy anymore. The body has changed. The competitive level has clearly changed because he's been winning fights in dramatic fashion of late. And let me just give you a quote from CAC Executive Director Andy Foster. He says, "I'm not going to say no to those who have been previously approved, but no new exemptions will be given out." So in other words, Dan Henderson would be fine, but everybody else is in trouble.